There was a post on Reddit that was a tweet from CNN, and then a response. And the response was what Reddit really seized on, that they liked, because it was like shut down. And it was CNN saying like things you can do to prevent global warming. It was, reduce your meat consumption by 30%, whatever. Add 2 other things that don't matter. Turn off your light bulbs or whatever. And then the response was, reminder that 20 corporations contribute to 71% of the greenhouse gas emissions, and blaming it on people is irresponsible and shirks the real problem. And I think that without needing to verify the specificity of the 20 companies or 71%, it does seem like there's a misunderstanding of supply and demand that is occurring there, which is like those companies are not just churning greenhouse gases into the atmosphere for shits and giggles. They're doing it to sell that person and me and you and our audience all the products that we demand. So like some of those companies are very likely ExxonMobil and the meat company that they're suggesting we reduce our intake by. Like if people stopped eating meat at a rate of 30% and found solutions that created less carbon emissions, they would not keep having as many cows. You know what I mean? That would immediately reduce their carbon footprint. And one of the things that I see in the world, and it's I think highlighted on Reddit, is it just occurs everywhere, is finger pointing at those more powerful and saying that they're the ones that need to change, which has an element of truth in it, but which also completely neglects one's own personal responsibility and contribution to the problem. And I see that frequently on that. And then the self-righteousness in the comments, and then my self-righteousness looking at the comments. And I was like, man, this is just a big, horrible spiral of...
well, humans love to feel superior to other humans. So we will find it any way we can get it.
Yeah. And so, and it's that all the way down. It's just people saying that the world is bad and somebody else did it, and it's not my fault, and I'm one of the good guys, and they're one of the bad guys. It's just, it seems so common. And what else?
You get to point your finger at Exxon if you've bought an electric car.
Yeah.
That's when you get to say it's Exxon's. It's Exxon's fault because I've opted out of the gasoline game.
Or riding a bike, or or going off grid, and there's a lot of things that one can do that require sacrifice. You'd be like, I no longer am putting a demand on Exxon or the meat manufacturers or any of these other people. My carbon footprint has been reduced. If more people behaved like me, and I've set my life up in such a way that that's plausible, possible, the world would be a better place. Maybe then you get to indulge in that self-righteousness.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about how ultimately we all talk about corporations like they are sentient entities, but they are so reactionary to the consumer. Like if every person on the planet just stopped using gasoline, they would figure out how to make windmills or solar panels or whatever it is. But they are also very, very happy to destroy the planet while they eke out the profit of selling fossil fuels to the extent that people will purchase them.
Yeah.
They're like amoral, not immoral, if that makes sense. They're just profit seeking and completely neutral to the horrible secondary effects that may or may not occur as they profit seek. I
think perhaps there's a greater degree of sociopathy or psychopathy in the most powerful, because the people who pursue those positions are more likely to want power at all costs. But we said it before that a corporation is basically oftentimes your own personal selfishness multiplied by a tremendous amount of power. Like, are you sending extra tax revenue to the government? Are you, how conscious are you? What sacrifices are you making in order to make the world a better place? And if people were, I think if many people, there's some that, Greta swam across the freaking Atlantic, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking if global warming is like super, if you're in that, if global warming is super important to you and you think it's a huge problem, probably what you would imagine that person would do is know the names of the 20 companies that contribute to 71% of greenhouse gases and never purchase from them.
Or the industry.
And go out of their way to be like, okay, I'm positive these are the 20 companies that contribute 71% of the carbon dioxide that's going up in the world. So I'm going to never purchase from them.
Yeah, to look at one's own carbon footprint, compare it to the average of the world and see where it stands. And as an American, you're going to find that you're ruining things. that almost everybody in the United States of America, with rare example, and you know who you are, you composters, you kayakers, and all you people living off grid,
bike to work, open the windows and don't use AC.
Use tungsten light bulbs that last forever. Fine, okay. But if that's not
real heroes,
but if you're a social media person, warrior, it's very likely not you. So, cool your jets. So, and this, another Reddit thing. This one is a spicier take, but I thought it, and I was not going to say it, but I will. One thing that I've noticed, and this is anecdotal, but I would suggest that it would be an interesting study to run, is that on Reddit, popular front page, which you can log, if you log in incognito, I'm pretty sure you'll see an unpersonalized version of the front page. Not every day, but oftentimes there's a story about a crime or a shooting or a victim or a punch in the face or whatever. And I would like someone to run this. I want to see when they include the races of the assailant and the victim. And my hypothesis is that they are not equal, that it is not evenly distributed across the races, that if it is a white assailant on a minority victim in America, minority in America, not minority in the world, that it is very likely to mention that it is a white assailant. That if it is a minority assailant against a white person, it is very unlikely that they mention that. And I've seen this many times, and it just came up yesterday. And at this point, it's reflexive. It said, man shoots person in bar. And I said, this is not because I think anything bad about any group of people, but I think this about Reddit. I said, I know what the race of the man is that was not listed. Because if it doesn't say white, I know what race he is.
They don't leave it out if it's white.
They will leave it out, yes. But if it's a white guy, they will include it. And the same thing with the victim. Man. And I could guess these, I think, with a higher degree of probability than would be suggested by the racial demographics of the United States of America or the world. Man assaults Asian elderly person. I can guess the race of the man in that, and it's not white because it would say white man. This is not a fact. This is your hypothesis, but I would propose a study that if anybody cared to disagree with me, that they could prove me wrong, would be to go incognito to the Reddit front page, and you could probably Wayback Machine 6 months, a year, whatever, and first list every single story that involves an assailant and a victim, and then go in, find the races of both, and then find to what degree each is represented. I could be wrong, but if I am right, which I believe I am, it's just so... I actually think what is happening in the world and in America is that people punch and kick and shoot each other for non-racial reasons almost every fucking time.
Yeah.
Like the vast, vast, vast majority, which I think most people would agree with, but I suppose it's even more vast than that community would lead you to believe. That most of the time when someone walks into a bar and shoots somebody, or anywhere and shoots somebody, it is because of a different reason. And what winds up happening, if you're not aware of this, is that man shoots person, and you're not, you go, okay, I got it. But what you wind up seeing is that there is so much more white on minority crime in the Reddit universe than you see represented in other directions. And I think it gives at least that particular community a skewed sense of the world, and also they're reinforcing, because these are user-generated titles. That is a view of the world that I think is important for a lot of the people in that community to have. So anyway, I know it's probably a spicy take, but I saw it. I was going to say it, and then I was not going to say it. So I said I have to say it.
Is that a spicy take? I mean, to say that headlines are created to create an emotion in the people that see them? I feel like that's not that spicy. When people are making headlines, they think, how do I say this in a way that's going to get the most clicks, shares,
what's
upvotes?
Interesting? You raised a really good point, because I was saying the Reddit homepage. But what's possible, it is totally possible that net submissions to Reddit are demographically representative. And it's possible that the ones that get the most upvotes are the ones that are how I describe them, that are selective.
That would be my bet.
So that on average, the submissions, the same story might come in with two different phrasings. And the question is, which of these is going to perform better?
I'm positive that the same news story can get submitted to Reddit with different titles. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
also
we've seen it.
confident that
Yeah.
the one that will get upvoted is the one that creates the strongest emotional reaction in people.
Yeah, interesting. So so that would be less an indictment or criticism of the Reddit title posters, which in that case, again, don't know if this is true, is just a random assortment, and more of the the limbic brain of the Reddit community, which on average is just going to tilt in that direction because that's become
Well, it's not just the Reddit. This is
thing.
also true of Facebook. This is all true of Instagram. This is also true of CNN. This is people share stories that make them angry at a much higher rate than stories that don't.
Interesting. Well,
And the title can make a news story way more inflammatory depending on how you frame it.
Well, you just made me think of something that I hadn't considered, which is I was treating the Reddit community a bit like a monolith. And what you're saying is like, no, if it just affects 3% of the Reddit community in a dramatic way, that can tilt the upvotes, which gets seen on the front page. And that's, what people have been talking about for a long time, which is how small groups of extremists can have an outsized effect on social media presence, which is, if you're just animated enough, you only need 20,000 upvotes in order to make the Reddit front page. And then most people, only 1 out of 100 on Reddit who will ever log in and leave a comment, like me, are just reading that and then having an opinion on the Reddit readers, which is not necessarily representative of those people, but just instead of a small minority. That's probably closer to the truth.
I also think it's just universal it's not just Reddit. It's humans.
So I'm sure.
It's the news, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. I don't know if it's TikTok because I don't have a TikTok, but if TikTok gets political, it'll be TikTok.
I'd be willing to bet that Fox News tilts. You might be able to run the same analysis on their headlines and find that it's totally reversed.
Sure.
Like that the exact racial demographics for assailant victim could be completely switched on that, and definitely are on some right wing, whatever. I don't know what was the one, Parler or something like that. That it's probably the exact opposite.
Parler's going to give you the exact you're going to know if the assailant is black, but if it's a white assailant, you won't know. Yeah, it'll just be the reverse. Yeah, people just want their worldview reinforced.
It's crazy. Yeah, as I think of that, and we're all victim. I've just been thinking this week and many other weeks, I suppose, about how sticky the things you believe are, and how like the greatest favor I could do myself is to just avoid Velcroing to anything, just of like trying not to touch any ideologies or beliefs, because once you hear them, you're likely to want to like hold them very dearly and close. So I guess I have to go on a silent retreat or something. I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Even because most of the time I'll try to be data driven. I'll look at the CDC data or I'll look at the police data or whatever it is. But then once you have your opinion, it becomes your opinion. You start to feel an attachment to it. And you now need to see pretty indisputable data to change your mind. Whereas you might have come in open-minded. You're like, I'm cool with this flipping either way. COVID could be the Black Plague or it could be the flu. Then you look at the data, you make your decision. But then once you make your decision, you've planted your flag. And you're immediately, I think, anchored to it. And you're less open-minded as you continue to check the data. And then all of a sudden you do have that bias where you ignore stuff that goes against you and you cling to things that show what you want to believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just seen that in myself, even as someone who tries to be data driven, is there is a bias once you plant your flag and you say, oh, okay, based on the data, I have this belief. Now that's your belief. And it's an effort to continue to be open-minded after you decide what you think.
Yeah. And I think to what we'd mentioned earlier, probably there's a lot of social reward at, you read something in an article, you talk to a like-minded friend, you say it, and they go, yes, oh, I didn't know that. And it's like, yes, now I love this belief. Or somebody that you don't have a high opinion of is negative towards you and go, well, now I definitely need to keep this thing. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.